Hello everybody, welcome back to another reading. Today we're taking a look at a case of two missing toddlers, Christopher Dansby, age 2, and Shane Walker, a year and a half, who both disappeared from the same park in 1998. It was the Martin Luther King Towers playground near their home in Harlem, New York, where they apparently also lived in the same building, namely 41 West 112th Street, also known as Martin Luther King Jr. Towers in Harlem. Their mothers, Rosie Glover and Allison Dansby, didn't know each other, and both boys would be said to be very cheerful and attached to their mothers. Now, Christopher and his grandmother were at the park at about 7 p.m. a few months before Shane disappeared, and his grandmother took her eyes off of him for a few seconds, and that's when he disappeared. He had appeared to be playing with the same two children that Shane would later be playing with several months down the line. In Shane's case, it was about 5 p.m. and his mother Rosa was with him. She was asked by two children that appeared to be about 5 and 10 years old, I believe, if they could play with him, and they were very persistent about that, so eventually she said okay. And then she got distracted by a man that sat down on the bench next to her and started talking about how dangerous the neighborhood was and how he had scars from fighting people and stuff like that. And when she turned to look again, she didn't see Shane anywhere. She went looking, and eventually she saw those other two kids coming through the fence, asked them if they knew where Shane was, and they said that they had no idea. She took them to the police station where they were questioned, and also their parents were questioned, though nothing actually came from that. The police canvassed the entire neighborhood and they couldn't find anything. Now, sometime later, Rosa, Shane's mother, got a strange and upsetting phone call about her son's body being buried in an abandoned building. The police searched the entire place but found nothing, and the police then went and looked at all sorts of different rings of different types of criminals with all sorts of nasty predilections. That also didn't turn up anything useful. They were looking for another male who had been seen in the area, and I don't believe that's the same male who was talking to Rosa that day. They were looking for an unidentified African-American male. They described him to be between the ages of 19 to 24, about 5 foot 8 inches. They also specified that he was wearing a yellow shirt and acid-wash jeans on the day Shane disappeared. And nothing has ever come of that either. Neither toddler has ever been seen since. And aside from that weird phone call about him being in a building somewhere and the unidentified male, they don't really have any other leads. So there isn't a lot to go on. And that is why I was asked to do a reading on this case. And in order to do so, we're going to start off with the Terra Mucha, which is already on the table. And for the further questions, moving on to the vice versa deck, which is this one. So as per usual, I'm just going to start shuffling the deck. As soon as I have about a table full of cards, we're going to stop and take a look. So without much further ado, let's get started. Okay, so we're starting off with a Knight of Wands in reverse, the Wheel in reverse, and the Six of Cups upright. We are, of course, talking about two people at once, so it might get a little bit confusing about which cards refer to whom in particular. We're just going to see what we can get. In any case, we have here possibly dealing from the point of view of whoever the perpetrator or perpetrators are. Somebody whom is quick to act and possibly quick to do the wrong thing. And maybe things have changed real quick, or at least the wheel has turned. But there is like a melancholy thing here. This almost seems like, I would say, somebody who is familiar with the area. and may have actually grown up there and is now just doing bad things in this case. Like they just had a bad turn in their own life, possibly because of actions that they have performed in the past, but they never really left far from their own home, their own turf, so to speak. So whoever this is operating on their own home terrain. And doing bad things. And then we have over here a Knight of Cups in reverse, and we have a Tower. Okay, so Knight of Cups in reverse. Knight of Cups in general tends to focus mostly on themselves, and with this being in reverse and combined with a Tower, I'm thinking that something happened and they from that point on only really cared about their own emotions and whatever happened to them. And this is something I'm guessing the point where they got involved with whatever it is that they were doing here, because I do feel like this is something that's part of a pattern, and probably Christopher and Shane were not the only ones who were affected by this pattern. So I'm thinking this is a local person, and that's also, I guess, how we can explain that nobody ever saw anybody. That usually means that it's somebody who doesn't stand out in the area. So probably this is somebody that people know, possibly people familiar with in the neighborhood as well. And a large event happening in their life also changed that, and the change was already going to happen, because you can see over here with the wheel already being in reverse due to their own actions. It's like an inevitability that there would be a Tower moment where things were just going too far and then they can't go back. We have here the Lovers in reverse, we have the Two of Pentacles in reverse, and we have the Hermits. Okay, so we're kind of hiding ourselves with the Hermit over here, possibly trying to withdraw from things, but also we are no longer subscribing to certain thought patterns, and we're not very careful with our spending. We don't really seem to care much about that. It almost seems like they are just kind of living underground in a way, like this person is no longer really on the same page as most people around them, and they're also not spending their time and the resources wisely. They're not focusing on the future, and they rather just kind of stick to their own thing while being kind of underground with the Hermit as well. Like whatever's going on with them is something that's underneath the surface, so we're not actually seeing any of this. If you were to talk to them, if you were to run into them at a corner store or something, you probably think they were just a normal guy or person, girl, I don't know. But there is definitely something brewing there that's probably been there from the past. They probably just rolled into this and they didn't quite stop rolling, and I don't think that they have a lot of regret so far. So this is somebody who has a certain level of distance that they can create between them and other people's suffering. So that's something. And also they don't feel like they have any options, because we have the Seven of Cups in reverse over here, and we have the Queen of Wands. Okay, so that is a very willful person. Also kind of looking at the little statue that's sitting next to the Queen on the arm rest of her chair. I'm not sure what that's supposed to be, but the first thing that came to mind when I saw that was some type of phallus type object. And since the Queen of Wands, who is holding a very large phallus type object, is very willful, and she doesn't really care too much about anybody else because of the Knight of Wands that we saw over there. Combined with this Seven of Cups in reverse, it may be that they had wishes but they just could not fulfill them. So we might be looking at somebody who had a wish to have perhaps a child but they couldn't themselves conceive, or just it wasn't working, or maybe they had a few failed attempts. And since they are very willful, they look very thoughtful as well in the background. They are just kind of like possibly plotting things in this regard. So let's go to the vice versa deck. So we have somebody here who doesn't seem to care about anybody else's feelings but themselves. And they have like a certain turnaround moment that's happening in their life. They're hiding things from other people. They have all sorts of things going wrong with them. And this combination over here that I was just talking about might also shed some light here on this Lover's card. Maybe there were some type of things that were frustrated in that department as well, and they are trying possibly to correct that their own way and without actually caring too much about other people. So let's see, we have that. Let's see what the vice versa deck can tell us. Okay, got quite a few actually already, 2 of them to start with. This one kind of is on its side, but I'll grab it like this first. This is the back side of the 2 of Pentacles again. So I think this is also showing us that whatever it is that they're going through, they're pretending that everything's fine for everybody else, because you see a couple people there in the background just watching this person perform with their resources. It's very performative, their behavior. So this is somebody who likes to pretend, play pretends, possibly also play house if they are indeed looking for children to adopt, so to speak. We have here the King of Wands. This may be the partner who is kind of on board and kind of not. I get the vibe that whoever it is that they were with kind of knows where the kids are coming from, but doesn't want to know. Kind of like, okay, well, whatever, do your thing, leave me out of it, I'll see when they get here, that type of energy. So whoever it is that they're with knows that the children are not theirs biologically, but is going to play along, and possibly doesn't want to know anything about the origin, so that they can't say anything that would lead the kids to suspect that something is wrong. So far it does look like somebody whom is claiming children for filling a gap in their own life. Whoop. Okay, there's a lot of cards flipping over here. We have the Star. No, this is Temperance. Temperance in reverse. So we're looking at the back end of Temperance, and again, similar to the 2 of Pentacles over here, somebody who is pretending to be very even-keeled and possibly just playing pretends a lot, actually. People are looking at them, and the way that this person is looking over here, this one actually kind of reminds me of Dr. Manhattan in the way that it's a blue glowing character, but also just kind of like whomever it is that is looking at them. I think this glowing character is kind of representing society looking at this person and just kind of like wondering what's going on there. They seem to be fairly neutral, but there's also a little bit of a pitying glance, the way that they're looking down on Temperance from there, with all the shooting stars in the background. This may also be their outlook of whoever this person is, this Queen of Wands, that they see all sorts of other people having lots of luck with all the shooting stars in the background, and they're just sitting there pretending that everything's fine, and possibly trying to pretend like they're a part of that whole show in the background, like, oh, look at us, we got kids too, you know, everything's fine over here, never mind us. And then we have here the Page of Wands, also in reverse, and the Page of Wands is fairly gung-ho. And if you look at the background, they're standing in like a desert area. Everything is kind of dry and broken in the background and mostly empty. So it's kind of like they're performing, but there's an emptiness there in the background, and they're being very energetic with their display, but it's not like it can really fill the void that they feel, even though they're trying their hardest to actually do that. Okay, we have another Hermit over here. Second Hermit card. This may be pointing to him retreating in a way. Because earlier I saw the cards and I said maybe this is somebody who is familiar with the area. And they may have since left, because if they, of course, stayed in that area with those children, then people would go, hey, that's Christopher, and hey, that's Shane, and what are you doing with those 2 kids? So this may be somebody who knows the area, has since left, and now has a bunch of children, and possibly no longer surrounded by people who knew them from before. And I see the Hermit in this case kind of like sneaking off into the darkness and trying to light their own way, trying to keep things under wraps, almost a little bit like a moon card in that sense. Also, they have an egg sitting at their feet, but it's got a snake wrapped around it. That's also very interesting. And the snake wrapped around their staff, like the staff of Caduceus, I think that's what it's called, the Hermes staff. But the snake on the egg is also interesting. Like maybe there is the egg, of course, representing offspring and fruitfulness, but it comes with a sting, and as long as he's got the light on the snake, he knows what the snake is doing. And I think that also kind of references, as long as we make sure to tell the kids certain things and not certain other things, they're not going to question anything, they're not going to bite us later. But I do feel like they feel like there's always going to be that potential question coming up, like what I often see with these cases, the people that do figure out that they're not actually belonging to the people who call themselves their parents. They figure out that there's no birth certificate, for instance, and that they don't have much of an answer, and there's no pictures of their mother being pregnant with them, something along those lines. So like there's always that potential that they're going to figure it out. They're just kind of keeping their eye on that right now, at least at this point in time. Okay, then we have, this is the Emperor, but then in reverse, and the other side as well. All right. So whomever this is, they are kind of like turning their back on the whole situation. They're being very distant. They're sitting there in a fairly cold location. It looks like they're inside of a cave as well. The fire is behind them, and this cube, I'm not entirely sure what that represents. But there's a lot of symbolism, and they even appear to have some type of magical powers by them being able to make this globe levitate over their hands. So I'm thinking that whomever is pretending to be their father comes across as a fairly mysterious and distant type of person, and they're also not going to answer any questions. It's more like this person has more questions than answers, and maybe that's also their tactic to try and keep things at bay. Like, okay, well, what do you think we should do? That type of person. Like, if you have something that you want answered, they're not going to give you a straight answer. They're just going to throw up more smoke and mirrors, that type of thing. Oh, these guys. Okay, so we have the Page of Cups in reverse and the back side. So it's a surprise, possibly in the waiting or in the background. We have the Seven of Wands, people coming for them, possibly the children challenging them, but they're also ignoring the heck out of them, because we have the Knight of Cups. Again, we had the Knight of Cups already at the beginning, but this one's also the other side, and they are literally riding away from us. Like I said, every time that there is a question of something, there's just evasiveness and there's no answers, and they're also not looking to answer any questions, but they are being challenged. And I think this may be going both ways. Like, on the one hand, we saw the Knight of Cups earlier as well, with what I assume would be the female in this relationship. So I'm thinking that they're also being represented by this Knight of Cups, though they're very much not answering any questions. And on the other side, we have the Page of Cups in reverse. I think that might be the father figure in this case, also just kind of like throwing up little surprises and not actually answering any questions, ignoring them, etc., etc. Also ignoring their feelings very much, because it is a cup card, and they're just ignoring any type of feelings that aren't their own. It looks as though, while they're also being challenged, I'm guessing, by the children to answer some questions, which they don't seem to want to do. Okay, that one jumped out and is now on the floor. Tower in reverse. And this looks like it is the back of the tower. Yeah, this is the front. And then over here we have the back. More riddles with the sphinxes on either side. These are also the same sphinxes that we have on most chariot cards as well. So not a lot of movement. It kind of looks as though there may come a time, or there has come a time, where a certain question was asked and potentially not answered, because again we have these sphinxes here, so there's like another riddle being thrown up. But it also kind of shows that the tower was empty and broken all along. Like, there is a surprise here, but it's kind of not a surprise. Like, they already suspected something, the kids, and they're like, okay, well, they're not telling us anything, But that alone is enough of an admittance of that there's something going on. They just don't know what it is at this point. So I'm guessing that after a certain amount of time, not entirely sure how much time has passed between them being taken and this moment over here, but it looks as though at some point they do figure out that there's definitely something going on. They just don't know what, and they're not getting any answers, but they are aware that definitely there's something different about them. They just don't know what. It could be something just came to mind, like they may have had like some type of medical issue and then they had to do possibly some blood work or something, and maybe there was something discovered like, oh hey, we have completely different blood types, how's this possible? Something like that. Like maybe they even had DNA testing done and they figured out that possibly there is definitely an issue here, like I'm not related to you, you're not related to them, how is this happening, that type of thing. But once again, even though they have some interesting proof, there were no answers, so there's definitely a level of mystery there that's being kept by whomever these two are. So are they ever going to figure out who they are, where they came from, that type of thing? Let's see what we can get about that. Alright, so there is the Eight of Pentacles here, and that is a new initiative, possibly as a result of this tarot moment, which may have come later rather than sooner, possibly when they were old enough to figure these things out for themselves. Once that has come to pass, they may be trying new things, trying to get certain initiatives underway, possibly investing in more things. Like maybe this was the blood work that was done that made them go, this is weird, and possibly this idea is, hey, let's do a DNA test to see what's up. Let's see what else we can find. And then we have Six of Swords in reverse. Okay, so I think we're still being led astray here. So even though they're trying new things, whomever these parents are, quote unquote, are still trying to tell them lies, possibly trying to come up with explanations as to why they had weird results over here. Maybe come up with very elaborate explanations. As a matter of fact, something that just came to mind was, oh yeah, well, we couldn't conceive, so we asked your uncle and aunt to help us, or something along those lines, like that type of thing. Like you're still family, but it's not quite the same as we pretended, and we just didn't want to embarrass you, or whatever story they can come up with, I think is being told here at this point. And the world is in reverse. So even though they may have some idea that there's something going on, the world is still too big for them to figure out exactly what the truth is. And also, I just thought earlier when I was talking about DNA tests, like, okay, you could take a DNA test and figure out that you're not related to the people who say that you are their parents, or that they are your parents, sorry. And that doesn't necessarily mean that your DNA is going to tell you who your parents really are, unless your parents had also taken a DNA test and you can figure that out, but possibly that didn't happen. So maybe they're just like, okay, we know something, but there's so much more that we now don't know for sure. Like you discovered one thing and then you discover that there's a whole lot of things that you don't know that you still need answers to. Okay, that one's just sliding out. We have here temperance again. So we are losing our temper at this point. So we figure this out and we're now frustrated by the fact that we don't know a whole lot more than we actually wanted to know. And so much frustration is happening that they're actually losing their temper. They're losing their patience with whoever these people are and possibly trying to answer questions. And this may be mutual as well. Like maybe the parents are also losing their patience with their questions. So there's a bit of a breakup over here, possibly within the family units. Okay. The Six of Wands. Okay, so they're definitely losing their position, whoever these people are. Like previously, of course, they were able to lie to the kids and keep up appearances that they were definitely who they said they were. But now we're definitely losing our temper and with them, and they're falling off of their pedestal, basically. That's what this card is saying. So they're no longer considered to be the same people that they were told they were when the kids were still growing up. Okay, that one just kind of slid out. So we have the Nine of Cups over here, kind of upright, but also on its side. It kind of like, also because it landed over here in particular, I'm feeling like they're kind of happy that they know some truth, but at the same time, they can't really be very happy because there's just so much that they still need to figure out. And they don't know exactly how to figure these things out. But a start has been made, so I'm guessing they may also be kind of happy about the fact that, oh yeah, well, at least we're not related to these guys. Like, maybe they weren't very good as parents after all, because we saw this earlier as well, with them just kind of evading everything, every type of question. And they're like, okay, thank goodness that you're not actually my parents, because that would have been very bad. But now we just don't know who our actual parents are and whom our families are. That one, okay. Ten of Wands in reverse. Okay, so we're kind of tired of carrying a certain burden with us, and it's also something that's been with them for some time. It's something that they can't let go, because the Ten of Wands is normally like carrying a load to its final location. You know, like you're almost there, you can see the place where you need to drop it off. But in reverse, it's kind of like, I'm just so done with this. I need to release this somewhere, but I don't know where and I don't know when. Like something just keeps dragging on, this whole situation. So they may be looking for things and just finding a lot of burden to bear, but they can't really find any way to release it. And then we have Five of Cups in reverse, unable to really let go of the loss and trying to take a new perspective of things. Like they've definitely discovered something, and now a whole new world opens up to them, and the Hanged Man is showing that by showing that they are indeed looking at things very differently than they were before. So this is, I think, them doing as much research as they can, trying to figure out how, like, if there are missing people that kind of resemble them. They may be looking up all sorts of things on missing people and possibly not finding what they're looking for, because, as I said earlier, the person or persons that took them, possibly allegedly, probably moved out of the area. So even if they were to look for missing people from the area where they grew up, they're not going to find it. And there are unfortunately so many missing people that it might take them quite a long time to find somebody who might match with them. And since they were almost the same age, I think there was like half a year between Christopher and Shane age-wise, they may have been told that they were both like twins or the same age, basically, and therefore they might be looking for the wrong type of age category as well when they're looking for whoever it is that they think they are in the ways of a missing person. So that's also going to make it a lot more difficult on them. That one's jumping out this way. Alright, but they are still challenging, at least, because the Seven of Wands is back. We saw that from before. They were challenging their parents, and they are just going to continue to challenge them. So I'm guessing that even though they are no longer really on speaking terms, possibly, at least not in the way that they used to be, they are still challenging them. So it's not like they've disappeared from their life entirely, but they are trying to get every bit of information out of them that they possibly can. Even though they probably don't want to share anything, these parents, quote-unquote, about how they actually managed to get Christopher and Shane in their life, or whatever names they go by at the moment. Are they ever going to figure it out though? Because we've seen how they're trying, but it doesn't say much about whether they're going to succeed. Let's take a look if we can get any cards about that. Whoops. Okay, there's one over there. And 1, 2 on the floor. This one's on the floor. And this one. Alright, but we started with this one. This is... oh, there's 2 of them. I think this is the Empress. Yeah. Empress is ignoring them. And the High Priestess is here. Definitely possibly trying to hide or confuse things. Because once again, we have like a sphinx-like creature next to the High Priestess on the right with a, what is that, a potion or a globe? Oh no, it's a pomegranate, which is also, I think, representing some type of mystical knowledge. So they're trying to hide that, possibly trying to muddy the waters as well from their own selfish point of view, because the Empress is not even really looking at them. So they're trying to confuse things even further. We have here the King of Wands in reverse, and the King of Wands is a very practical person normally, and in this case in reverse I think that they are deciding that the most practical thing for them to do would be to go against whatever it is that these guys are trying to do. We also have again the Five of Cups. Second time that we have the Five of Cups, and we're looking away from things as well. So I think on both sides of the fence we have people that just don't want to let something go. Maybe they're upset that the dream life that they were trying to create with these 2 children, or possibly more, I don't know, because I believe there was also a 1-month-old baby that was kidnapped in that same area roughly around the same time. Not with as many coincidences as these 2, but possibly there were other attempts made. But anyway, so the dream life that they had in mind turned out not to work out, so they're unable to let go of that, and now they're just kind of choosing whatever practical solution they can come up with in order to, I guess, save themselves. Let's see if we can get a few final cards here. Okay, we have the Page of Pentacles in reverse, and we're looking the other way, and we have the Knight of Wands also looking the other way. So the Page of Pentacles is not very good at spending their resources, so I'm thinking whatever attempts they are making to find themselves and trying to find whomever they may be, it's not super successful. Also, the Knight of Wands normally charges off into the distance and possibly is also a very gung-ho character. They may be charging off in the wrong direction and also feeling like they're riding into the darkness over here and riding through a storm as well. So it may take a very long time before they actually figure out whom they are, if they ever do figure it out. But so far, they're actually not getting very far, but they're also running out of energy, because at the feet of this page over here, you can see the Horn of Plenty, or what should be the Horn of Plenty, but it's empty. So they're depleting their own resources trying to figure this out, but they're just going down the wrong path and not quite able to get there. Okay, Three of Swords in reverse, and we're looking at the back side, and we have the Devil in reverse. All right, so we are definitely letting go of the parents, quote unquote. Like, they've been trying to question them for some time and trying to get as much information out of it, but they're not getting anywhere with that. But eventually they're going to figure out, you know what, this whole 3 is a crowd thing as well, that is usually with the 3 of Swords. Never mind, we're going to get rid of these guys because we really can't do anything with them. They're not helping, they're just getting in the way, and we really could do without them. So I think eventually they're going to cut ties with them. And this card kind of wanted to fall at the end of that. This is the World again. So I'm thinking that they still aren't quite able to make out whom they are. But at least this world is a lot brighter. So I think that even though they're still full of questions they can't quite answer, the future looks brighter just because they cut these negative people out of their life. I think that may also renew some of their energy, and that'll hopefully give them a better chance at figuring out whom they are and whom their actual parents are. In any case, that is what I'm seeing for Christopher, Dansby, and Shane Walker. I hope you found that interesting. Make sure to leave a like and a comment. That really helps the channel along. If you'd like to subscribe, that's even better. I hope to see you in another video. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye for now.